Good evening. This Town of Adams Board of Selectmen meeting on Wednesday, November 15th, 2023 is now called to order. If you could all please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being televised live on Northern Berkshire Community Television and is also being recorded by Northern Berkshire Community Television. No other recordings are permitted without the approval of the Board of Selectmen. Our first item of business is the approval of minutes for November 1st. They are in the board's packets. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion the board waive a reading of the minutes and approve them as provided for November 1st, 2023.
Thank you. I have a motion by Member Blanchard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Duval. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention?
Abstain.
One abstention. Okay. That brings us to public comment. At this time, if anyone wishes to speak to the board about any matter, the podium is there. We ask that you state your name and your address before you make your comment. I will tell you that we have a public hearing scheduled for 6:10 p.m., so I do need to be mindful of that. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the board about any matter? Yes, please come forward and please state your name and your address.
Murray Street. I had two questions. Sure. According to Carol Cushnet, the select board has been working on the ambulance service, and I know you're going to go into that. That's on the agenda, but I just want to know if the Board of Selectmen has been dealing with this.
No.
So
Our town
Carol
administrator
Cushnet posted on social media. What she posted was incorrect.
I didn't see her post, but this Board of Selectmen has not
Had
been
any
working
dealings.
on it. We work through our town administrator.
You work
Through our town administrator on matters of that, and he will provide an update later in the agenda.
Okay, and the last item on the agenda is to go into executive session, is that correct?
That is?
You only posted part of exception 6. The rest of exception 6 talks about if the chair feels that it would put the public body in an unfair bargaining position or something, and I don't really think that's what's happening.
It's for property, so I think that the item under number 6 is correct to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and those properties are listed.
Is the town negotiating? Will the town lose negotiating status if it's conducted in an open meeting?
These are properties as part of the CDBG housing rehabilitation work,
Yeah, but
and
that
they are
doesn't-
done in executive session. I have town council here who can answer the rest of that question if you would like.
Can we read out loud exception 6, but the whole exception, not just the part posted in the agenda?
Well, the part that's posted in the agenda, I don't have the rest of it with me, but that it's a multi-part section dealing with other elements that are not relevant to this particular executive session. This executive session relates to the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And during the discussions that deal with the release and discharge of liens, it's inevitable that the value of real property is discussed. And the selectmen, in determining whether to discharge or correct a lien, as is indicated on the agenda, would need to consider this an executive session. At some point, the executive session exception would eventually dissipate because there would be no further reason to have it, and the minutes related to that would then be released to the public.
I do have the rest of exception 6. And it says, if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. So I'm asking, is whatever you're planning to discuss having to do with community development funds, does it have, if you did it in an open meeting, would it have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the Board of Health, of the Board of Selectmen?
Well, it would, and that's why it's being considered in executive session. It
would
may
have-
not have been stated here on the agenda, and it perhaps should have been stated, the rest of the sentence that you're referring to should have been put there. It typically is put there.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, what was the comment? Can you please come to the podium if you have a comment? And state your name and your address?
My name's Charles Foster, Murray Street, Adams. Why wasn't it included?
I don't have an
These
answer
scrib-
for you, sir.
It could be a Scribner's error on my part that I left it off. My apologies.
Okay.
But the heart of the letter's there. Anyone else? For public comment? Yes. If you want to please come forward, state your name and your address.
Hello, my name is Joshua Koch. I'm a resident of Dalton. I've been an employee for the Adams Ambulance Company for around 2 years now. And I wanted to bring to the attention of the town administration some of the concerns that the staff here at Adams Ambulance have, and some things that we'd like to bring to your attention, and possibly hope that you can reconsider and examine. So, I'm a representative of a committee of the staff of Adams Ambulance that was formed about 4 days ago when we, the staff, were informed of an imminent closure. We had no knowledge of this, and as a matter of fact, staff had repeatedly come to our management with concerns regarding our financial status and asking for clarification, and have been told that everything was under control and was in hand. As soon as we found out that everything wasn't under control and was in hand, we immediately went into action. As I said, we formed a committee and basically got to work trying to see what we could do to rectify the situation. We love this town. A large percentage of our employees are residents of this town, and I, while not a resident, have really come to love it here, and I don't want to see this town suffer from the lack of emergency services. In the past 4 days, a GoFundMe's been created, a fundraising campaign has been begun, and we've identified multiple issues that, if they had been brought to the attention of the staff quite some time ago, I do not believe that Adams Ambulance would be in the financial position that it is right now. We've noted that there's been a lot of financial inefficiencies. Money's been spent in places it doesn't need to be spent. And we've found that most of us, unfortunately, have found about it through the press, not through our own people, not through our own administration, that there have been multiple discussions regarding how the funding situation should work that it doesn't seem like a whole lot was done about. Now, I'm not trying to cast any blame on anyone, but we do have some significant concerns that the situation has been mismanaged from the beginning, and if that were to turn around and it were to actually be discussed, I believe that some very, very viable solutions could be come to address this situation. I don't have I found out about this meeting about 2 hours ago, so I don't have a whole lot prepared. I'm doing my best here. Most nonprofit ambulances in Berkshire County, many of whom I have worked for or had associations with, most of them don't survive on insurance billing alone. Most of them engage in fundraising, engage in public awareness, and engage in making appeals to the townships and negotiating contracts or agreements to assist with funding from the townships that they support. I understand that Adams Ambulance has not been particularly proactive in doing this. Unfortunately, our committee of staff members were not aware of this lack of proactivity. And we believe very strongly that if these issues were reopened and we were able to meet and negotiate with the town of Adams, Cheshire, Hawley, Savoy, all of whom we currently cover, we can make something work. We care very deeply about this town. We're very worried about the emergency response of this town, and we have a population that needs our help, and we want to be there for them. And as a representative of the committee that was created, I've been given full authorization to say that those of us, the employees at Adams Ambulance, we do not want to close, and we are willing to fight and do whatever we have to do to keep our ambulance service serving the town of Adams, Cheshire, Savoy, and Hawley. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. It is 6:10, it's actually 6:11 PM, so we will stop public comment at this time. We will resume public comment. I know that there will be an update about Adams Ambulance and emergency management, emergency medical services later on our agenda. I will also take a moment to state that there is a public meeting with a public hearing scheduled for Monday, this coming Monday, November 20th at 6 PM. Our colleagues in the town of Cheshire will be hosting. It'll be a joint meeting of our boards of selectmen with public comment and hearing at that time, with representatives from Adams Ambulance who have agreed to participate, at least the chief has. He's confirmed, and also representatives from Northern Berkshire EMS. Okay. So with that, because of the hour, I do need to go into a public hearing. This public hearing is to determine compliance of a dangerous dog order that the board did put in place for Sully, who lives at 12 Phillips Hill Road. I do need a motion from the board to go into this public hearing regarding dangerous dog order compliance.
I'll make a motion the board enter a public hearing for the purpose of a hearing on a dangerous dog orders compliance.
Thank you. I have a motion by member Blanchard. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by member Rosenberg. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, we are now in public hearing. Let me just get my public hearing notes, my apologies. We are here today. We have, through our town council, issued a letter to Lionel Vega and Lachey Canada, who live at 12 Phillips Hill Road. And our letter was continuing the hearing concerning Sully. The letter reads, "Dear Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada, you may recall that on November 17th, 2022, you met before the Adams Board of Selectmen concerning your dog's attack on another dog. Following a hearing, the Board of Selectmen issued certain orders regarding Sully. After receiving several inquiries regarding compliance with these orders, the board has scheduled a hearing on November 15th, 2023 at 6:10 PM to determine whether compliance with these orders exist. Therefore, you are invited to attend and appear at a hearing before the Adams Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, November 15th. The purpose of this hearing is to determine whether you have complied with the board's orders concerning Sully. Please understand that the board is empowered by statute to consider other remedies in this case if there is evidence of non-compliance with its orders, including but not limited to the issuance of other orders or an order that the dog may be humanely destroyed." This letter was received by Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada, and we do have those receipts of certified mail that they did receive it. I do see them here in the audience, so I appreciate that. And Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada, are you represented by legal counsel this evening? Okay. At this time, I'm going to ask town council to provide any additional information about the dog owner or custodial rights in this process from MGL Chapter 140, Section 157.
Well, the dog owner has a right to present evidence of compliance with the board's orders that you just referred to, which were contained in a letter that followed the November 17, 2022 order, as well as to be represented by counsel. There is an element in this case which exists that the board is, or the town is allowed to proceed by way of a criminal complaint when there's been non-compliance with its orders. This was raised when we had a similar type of hearing in which the town could apply for a criminal complaint in the Northern Berkshire District Court, and the district court, upon a finding of guilty, could impose punishment which could include a fine and/or jail. And I'm saying this because it has some overtones of self-incrimination involved in this. The dog owners should be aware that anything they say may be used against them. This hearing is being recorded, and that evidence may be used against them in the event that there is a proceeding that goes forth in the Northern Berkshire District Court on the criminal aspect of whether there's been compliance or not.
Thank you. As mentioned earlier, this hearing is a compliance hearing. This is a hearing concerning whether the owners or custodians of the dangerous dog Sully located at 12 Phillips Hill in Adams, owned by Lionel Vega in Lachey, Canada, are in compliance with the Adams Board of Selectmen's orders determined on November 17th, 2022, and issued in writing April 4th, 2023. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Sections 136A and Sections 157 through 174, and Chapter 14 of the Adams Town Code, the Board of Selectmen will conduct this hearing to determine whether the owners are in compliance and whether other remedial action should be ordered or whether no action should be taken at all. At this hearing, at the request of the Board of Selectmen, the Adams Police Department, through its Chief and Animal Control Officer, will present evidence to the Board concerning its investigation as to whether Mr. Vega and Ms. Canada are in compliance with the Board's orders. Witnesses may be called by the Adams Police Department. At the conclusion of the testimony of each witness, the dog owner or his representative may ask each witness questions. Upon completion of the police department's presentation, the Chief and Animal Control Officer will rest. The dog owner has a right to present evidence, and any witnesses it calls may be questioned by the Board of Selectmen, Police Chief, Animal Control Officer, or Town Council. At the end of the owner's case, the board will ask whether the dog owner has any additional evidence, and if not, the dog owner will rest. Each party may introduce documentary or other physical evidence as it deems appropriate, subject to the rules of relevancy. At the conclusion of the hearing, the board will call for a motion to close the hearing. It will then deliberate, and at the conclusion of deliberations, take a vote and announce what, if any, action it will take. At this time, I will ask all persons who are here to provide testimony to please stand. Okay, I was like, there's Kim. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand and agree to the following oath. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Okay, thank you. You may sit. The board's orders for everybody to recall. At our November 17th, 2022 meeting, the Board of Selectmen did determine that the dog known as Sully, owned by Lionel Vega in Lachey, Canada, is a dangerous dog. At that time, we ordered that Lionel Vega in Lachey, Canada, install a fence at 12 Phillips Hill. At a minimum, plans for the construction of such fence shall be presented to the board no later than 6 months from the date of the order. Sully shall attend obedience training once his quarantine order had ended. Sully shall be neutered i.e. be altered so that the dog shall not be reproductively intact. Sully shall be muzzled, restrained on a 3-foot leash, and shall be attended and under control at all times, even while in an outdoor enclosure. Any person having ownership and/or control of Sully shall provide a certificate of insurance of not less than $100,000 coverage for personal injuries that may be caused by Sully to the office of the town administrator. The certificate of insurance shall be provided no later than 6 months from the date of this order. Lionel Vega and Ms. Lachey Canada shall report back to the Board of Selectmen within 6 months regarding the status of Sully and compliance with this order. And the Board of Selectmen reserves the right to bring this matter forward in the event that Sully bites another human being or animal. The Board of Selectmen, after investigation by the Chief of Police and after hearing at which Lionel Vega and Lachey Canada still have the opportunity to be heard, reserves the right to reconsider this order and to make an order directing the humanely destroying of Sully. At this time, I want to remind everyone that this is a matter of compliance, and it is not reopening of the case from last year. We did determine that Sully is a dangerous dog, and at this time, all relevant testimony will be about compliance of the orders that I just read. As I stated with the process, we will start with the Adams Police Department to present evidence to the Board of Selectmen as to whether or not they believe that they are in compliance with the orders. Unless there's anything else from Town Council that I missed.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Good job.
So far? Okay. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chief.
I'm Chief Kelly. What I'd like to do with the board's approval is kind of lay out maybe the way this could be a little bit easier for everyone. So, like you said, it's already been presented a year ago. So I think what I would like to have is the animal control officer come up here and from the orders that were given by the Board of Selectmen, just have her go down through and say what they have or have not complied with or to what degree. Then if there's any questions left, you're certainly welcome to answer her, and then we'll step aside and let them come up and answer questions, defend themselves, because it's just me and her. We have no witnesses. I don't see the victim owner here. So if that pleases the Board of Selectmen, I'll let the ACO come up. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. For those who don't know you, if you could state your name and your position.
I'm Kimberly Whittick, and I'm the Animal Control Officer for the Town of Adams.
Thank you.
Okay. Back in October on 10/18, I spoke with Mr. Vega to check to see what they were in compliance with and what they weren't. Mr. Vega advised me that they did do some obedience training and that they do have some paperwork on that. At this time, the dog is not neutered. There is no fence put up. The muzzle order, they have complied with that. I have not received any calls regarding that they haven't. And there has been no $100,000 coverage as far as I know of. Those were all 5 items.
Any questions from the board for the animal control officer? Okay. Wait. Ms. Canada and Mr. Vega, do you reserve the right to ask you any questions?
Okay.
Based on the evidence that you provided?
Okay.
So at this time, do you have any questions of Ms. Whittick?
I would just like to speak first, and then if I can,
You,
she can ask me any questions, or I just want to speak first,
okay,
after she.
okay.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with that? Yes. Chief, is there anything else from the police department?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. And the board doesn't have anything else for the chief or the animal control officer? Okay. Mr. Vega, if you would like to come to the podium and please state your name.
So I'm Lionel Vega, owner of Sully. So First things first, we didn't even receive documents from when we had that first discussion here. We were told we was gonna get the documents the following week. We didn't get the documents till like June. So I did talk to Kim about that, and we did follow the muzzle order. I didn't know nothing about no 100,000 house insurance. The neutered situation, we went to our vet, and I told Kim that I have the paperwork stating that she said there's no reason for Sully to be neutered now, even after the situation, if the other dogs are intact, because at the end of the day, he just doesn't like dogs. And there's more cons than pros for him being neutered, especially as a male dog. And to reproduce, our female's intact. So she's neutered. So there's no reproduce there anyways. So that's that. And the other order, what was it? Like I said, the muzzle, and the fence. We did get our land measured. They said they wanted $20,000 to do it. I do not have $20,000 to do it. So I brought the question to Kim, stating if I can build a cage, like 6-foot cage that I have in my parents' house. And she said she cannot answer that. I had to get in contact with you, or we had to get in contact with you guys to see if we can do that. That's where we stand.
Any other comments at this time?
Oh, and when you were reading, Sully never bit a person.
It's, the order did, I know that the case was about Sully actually killing another dog.
Right.
But the order was if Sully had bit a human or another animal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. What I do want to enter into evidence, I guess is Exhibit A, is the April 4th, 2023 letter that the Board of Selectmen did send to you. And the exhibit, I gave a letter? A? Yeah, so Exhibit
Yes.
B would be the signed certified mail receipts that Ms. Canada did sign on April 20th of 2023. In terms of the timing, yes, the hearing was held on November 17th of 2022, and you did not receive the written order until April of 2023. That extended your 6-month period of time, and that's why we are here today. So today is actually a little bit further out than that 6 months, but you still had that 6-month period of time.
And I also forgot to mention too, he is in obedience school.
At this time, do you have evidence of the obedience training, the vet record that you mentioned, and the proposal that you received for offense? Those were 3 documents that you mentioned.
Right.
Okay. I'm slightly confused. It starts off saying this article
She put
was mailed.
evidence-based articles in it, but
Okay. And the vet is Wendy Brooks?
yeah,
And where does Wendy Brooks practice?
Berkshire Vet in Pittsfield.
Okay. It states, so that the whole board can see this, to whom it may concern, castration of intact male dogs may or may not decrease aggression or negative interactions with other intact male dogs. Undesirable negative interactions between male dogs are more likely to be decreased if both dogs are castrated. Castration is not guaranteed to stop aggressive, undesirable interactions between male dogs or alter territorial aggression. Canine behavior is complex and can be impacted by a variety of factors. I have sent along an informational handout about castration in male dogs from veterinarypartner.com for your perusal. Sincerely, it's Carrie Phelps, sorry, who is the vet, and the article that she's referring to is written by veterinarian Wendy Brooks.
And if I could, interject, it is also that same type of wording on their at-home facilities medical file, that it may not change the behavior, but it still can be neutered.
And Chief, that medical file is dated what? And when, this is dated October 25th of 2023.
Same day
Same date.
was the most recent one.
Okay. And you have a copy of that medical record to provide?
Christine?
Yes.
I caution you that if you need a
Oh.
copy of this, everybody needs to speak at a microphone.
Thank you very much.
Or
Okay.
else it isn't heard.
Okay. Thank you.
Last paragraph is what describes things. It kind of describes what is in
Wow. Chief.
there. Yes.
Okay. I'm like, doctors in their handwriting. It states here, I think, that castration was discussed. Dog has had interactions with neighbor, also intact male dog. Castration of both dogs may change their interaction, but may not necessarily it's something interaction with other dogs.
That's right.
Could be. Could be.
Change. That's a big
Change. Oh, it's the signal for change. Thank you. Thank you. Like,
Christine?
yes.
Just for the record,
Yep.
since, as Peter pointed out, the chief could not be heard, what is it that you have in front of you? What's the date? Where does it come from?
Certainly. So this is a veterinary record for Sully. This piece of the veterinary record is dated October 25th, 2023. And I will mark this as Exhibit C. Okay. Oh, sorry, your phone, sorry. Sorry, Miss Canada. Okay. So that's a veterinary record about neutering.
So another point I just wanted to just raise that
Certainly.
Ms. Canada provided you with something that you looked at and probably would be beneficial, at least to you, to have something written out on that. So perhaps you could send something to someone by email.
Yeah.
If someone wants to share an email address. That way you would have something on record to protect your position.
Yep. I will write down an email address.
Reese got it.
Thank you, Ray. It can come to me.
And also about the 20,000. I don't have actual written paperwork on it because the dude from Home Depot came, measured and then we talked in person.
Okay.
So we might be able to find something. If we can, we'll let you know. But
Okay. I believe, sorry.
Can you do it?
Let me just see if I can find that.
Thank you.
I just was looking at the minutes from that meeting about the discussion about the fence. I know that there were questions at that time as to whether or not you own the property and had the ability to fence in, which you stated that you could. I think there were suggestions of an invisible fence, and there. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else here. Okay. My apologies, I don't read as fast. Okay. All right. I will also enter the minutes from that hearing from November 17th as Exhibit D. Okay, so nothing on the fence. And then the last piece was the insurance, the certificate of insurance. Were you able to get that certificate of insurance of $100,000?
So I was in contact with our current home insurance agency to see if we can add the extra insurance, and she never got back to me, and I haven't been staying on top of it.
When did you do the outreach?
Probably like a couple months ago. I'm gonna check right now. The beginning of the October 18th.
So October 18th, you ask your insurance agent. Okay. And the animal control officer did mention that you have had Sully in obedience training classes.
Yes.
Do you have documents that confirm that?
No, but I can send them to this email that you guys gave
Okay.
us. Next time he goes, his next class is tomorrow.
I think that's the compliance orders and the evidence that we asked for. At this time, I will open it up to the board to ask any questions, unless there was any further
No.
statements or evidence. Okay. So if the board has any questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
$20,000, are they talking the entire property?
Yeah.
Okay,
We weren't sure.
I don't
how-
know that was my intent at the time, to
That's what I
force you to enclose the entire property. I thought it would be to enclose the dog if he was outside.
That's what I thought also, but when I was speaking to Kim, we thought we came to agreement where it was the whole property. So when I asked the whole property, and he said 20,000, I just can't pull 20,000 out of nowhere. So that's why I then brought up about me building a cage, because I built a cage at my parents' house with my dad. So I could do that at 6 feet, 10 feet wide, built under the ground. So that's how we did it over there. But to build a whole fence in around my property is gonna need more time than a year, at least.
Then I would ask the board if that was their intent, was the entire property or like a kennel?
Go ahead, Howard.
My understanding was just a kennel, it wasn't the whole property. It was to restrain the dog when the dog was outside.
But I'm pretty sure it does say on the document about a fence. Just want to throw that out. Okay.
It does. It just says fence. It doesn't say
Right.
necessarily the size. It doesn't, you were asked if you had the ability to fence in your yard. But the order is just a fence.
Okay.
And just would add to that, that it said as, at a minimum, plans for the construction of a fence be presented to the board no later than 6 months. So this issue about whether it should encompass the entire property or something smaller than that could have been addressed at that time, too.
Rick, did you have any follow-up?
No, I believe that was it on the fence.
Other questions? Joe?
Yeah, I have just a few, and I think I'd like to go back a little bit if I could call Kim out, because this is legitimate to follow up on what is going on. Kim, could you come out, please?
Sure. Yep. Or step aside, whichever. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, don't go too far. I was gonna say, don't go too far, that's all.
Kim, my question to you is, what was the reason for your delay in delivering the compliance orders?
Let me answer this. She did not deliver the compliance order. The compliance order came from town council.
Okay? And what was the reason, town council, that the delay in delivering the compliance orders after we had made the motion?
Well, the information was not presented to me. I wasn't at the hearing, and the information was not presented to me until probably a few weeks before, or a week before the order was written up.
Okay, and to the Vegas and Miss Canada.
Yep.
I know that you agreed with this, and I know sometimes under duress you make decisions because you love your dog and you know you're going to do what you want to take care of it. But as you know, I had a long discussion during this about the dog and why the dog probably did what it did because of its alpha, you know, within a group of the dogs. But I just think, though, that we as a board need to, and this is, I'm only speaking personally for myself, that when an agreement is made, that the agreement on your part, you should have come before the board or somebody in the office and said, you know, I under duress, or, you know, just, you know, I want to do anything to help my dog, but I think you had ample time to come and say, well, you know, about neutering. So in short, I'm just hearing a lot of this stuff right now, and when I look at the time factor within this, you had ample time to bring those things forward to someone within the confines of the town hall or our animal control officer, our police, our administrative assistant, our town administrator, our board chair, and I didn't see that happening. And once again, too, with you know, you were talking about the $100,000, and you called a month ago, and if you felt the need to have that being answered in front of our board, I wouldn't have hesitated a month. I would have called, you know, maybe a week later or a few days later and say, hey, look, this is important to me. I don't understand why you're not getting back to me. So, and I'm just going to finalize what I said. The dog's life was taken, and, you know, the person here loves their dog as much as you would have loved your dogs, and if that would have happened to you. And I voted not to put the dog down because my faith tells me that I don't have the right animal or person to, you know, put that dog down. So I broke aside from that because I didn't feel that I should make through the way I feel that I shouldn't say, I want this dog put to sleep. But once again, it's just the timing for me. You know, you had ample time to look into these things, and it seems like you've been a little bit lax, and that's what I'm saying. And I also feel, I remember asking, and it wasn't a written statement, it wasn't anything that went on the record, but I'd asked if you would be probably kind enough to talk to and you're the woman, right? you just came in about, maybe talking to her, see if you could get a dog for her or anything. Did that ever transpire?
No.
Okay, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
I do just want to clarify that the motion that was made in November 17th of 2022 did not include euthanization. This board did not motion to euthanize or destroy Sully at that time. So I just wanted to state that the motion that was made was all of the orders that we talked about, but euthanization was not part of them. Okay.
And can I follow up on a couple of his
Yes,
statements?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So about the times and dates, I totally agree. But I was in contact with Kim. She would call me a lot and we would talk. This is my first time dealing with something like this. I didn't know that I would have to come here in front of, I didn't know you guys was even here all the time. So I didn't know I had to come here and actually present in front of you. I thought I'd just get in contact with Kim. We talk, because she's the animal control. So I thought that's what was getting around. Also, about the times, you gotta realize, I didn't get the documents till, like I said, June. April. And you can't just walk into the vet now and just, come see my dog. So they have time frames of when you can come. Same thing with the obedience school, when you can come. It's not like how it was 10 years ago where you can just walk in and they take you in now. So that's why some of the time frames might seem like last minute, but some of those follow up with that.
Well, then I have a question. You're in front of us now in a public hearing. When were you notified that this would be a public hearing on this case? When were you made aware that you were going to come in front of our board and we were going to listen and be the mediators?
Of today?
Yes.
November.
No, in October.
I didn't see it until November. But
Okay.
she must have got it in October. I didn't actually pay attention to it till November.
Okay. So when you were told that you had to come in front of the board, were you made aware what what you would need to do? Were you made aware that you'd have to come in front of us? Was there an explanation of what you would need to do? Or are you just coming now and hearing what we're asking? And so when you went to have this public meeting, when you came, did anyone who called you about it say what your parameters would be, what you would need to do when you were here?
No.
No?
The letter that Christine read was all that we were notified of.
Okay.
Also, when I did talk to Kim about the fence, I asked her about the cage. She asked me to bring it up here now at this meeting. So that's why I brought it up here now.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
So Exhibit E will be the letter that was dated October 17th, and the signed certified mail receipts that the board, I think, has at their seats. And it may be, Ms. Lachey, it might be your signature.
Yeah.
Ms. Canada, I'm sorry, your signature, but Mr. Vega's name printed. Does that seem right?
No.
You can take a look. But that's your signature, right?
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
signature. I don't know why I wrote the same.
Okay. So,
That looks like
Is that certification Exhibit F?
I'm sorry, yes.
Certified mail receipt is Exhibit F?
Yes, thank you. Glad someone's taking.
Can I also state something?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Also, our land is a little less than an acre. So we have a lot of property on the other side of where I walk my dog, where it is in front of where they can see and where they say that the kids are scared and they're scared for the dogs. So out of respect, we started walking our dogs on the other side of my property where nobody can see my dogs. If they were to see my dogs, they would have to walk up basically on my property to come see. But now we're dealing with today that some of them feel like they can walk their dog up there where they know where I walk my dog so nobody sees them. But if they're so scared, this is what I don't understand. If they're so scared, why do they feel the need to walk up there?
Mm-hmm.
And she can all she wants, but we have video proof.
And it's a dead-end street.
It's a
so-
dead-end street.
Okay. Yeah, and that wasn't mentioned, so.
No, it was mentioned to Kim. So I
To
don't know-
Kim,
I
but
don't know if
not
she-
to our board
No, yeah,
yet,
no, no.
so, okay, okay. because I want to just keep to the relevancy of the
Okay.
compliance of the orders. I mean, that could be a separate issue that you work through animal control on. But I want to keep it to this, okay? Other questions from the board?
Yeah, I do, Madam Chair. I just want to go through each of these orders, starting with the fence. Now, as been stated, how much land do you have? Do you own?
.4.
Almost half an acre.
Almost half an acre,
Yeah.
okay. And you had a price, had a estimate for the entire,
They went
Quarter
from
acre.
each corner of the house and then around the backyard.
could that be made smaller?
Yeah, it could, but we didn't know how big it had to be.
Okay.
And we don't leave them outside. We have been walking them on leash since the incident.
Okay.
All of them.
Number 3, obedience training, that's something you're going to provide paperwork in regards to
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Number 4, a question to town council. State law does indicate a list of infractions that, or possible orders that a board can apply, and neutered is one of those in the state law currently.
Right,
So
it
we
is.
just got a couple opinions from a doctor or a vet or whatever, but that's still part of state law, right?
Right.
So the board can make that decision, right? The next one is 5, solely shall be muzzled, restrained on a 3-foot leash. Has that been, have you been doing that?
Yep.
And the last one is the $100,000. Yeah, definitely, as it's been stated, just try to work with your insurance company, and it's going to be an added cost, but many homes have more than $100,000 insurance on their house for liability. So if it can be done, it should be done.
Right.
All right, that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay. Anyone else? And Chief, at some point you did have your hand raised. Did you have a question or a comment? And I cut you off? Oh, you-
I rescinded because he actually answered a lot of the conversations with Kim. She would jot down the notes of what it was.
Okay.
If it was something that she needed to tell them to refer to the Board of Selectmen, because we're not going to tell them what size fence, or that's
Right.
your orders.
Yep.
So she would tell them, you need to bring it before the Board of Selectmen. Now, could he have reached out sooner? Probably, but, that's something for the board to.
Okay. And are,
But he actually said what I was going to bring up.
and are any of those notes that were just referenced evidence for today? Is any of those conversations, Ms. Whittick?
No, we didn't put it, I don't think we put it in.
Okay, okay. Just asking, as I'm trying to see if we have all of the paperwork. That's, sorry.
It's okay.
I just have
Yes.
one more question. If Kim, could you please come back to the podium? Just one last question I have. Thank you. In regards to the dog cage, you mentioned 6-foot cage you was talking about. What is a size cage that is humane to have a dog inside? Is that,
So
any
he's probably
idea?
speaking of a kennel. So if he
kennel.
put up an outdoor kennel,
Outdoor kennel?
that would be fine.
That would be fine. Okay.
And just as a point of reference, I believe Corporal Baker, remind me if you know better than I do. So both of our canines are housed in what I believe is a 8x12, or maybe an 8x15 run. And so that's, if we put our canines in it, that's already been vetted.
Okay, I think the 8x8 might be a normal size you can
Much more
buy, right? It's
And cost effective.
cost effective, yeah. Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else from the board? Anything else?
Yeah, I
from
got one
you two?
more
Sure,
thing.
Yeah,
If I can remember correctly, you did say I have the right to appeal for the neutering, right?
yeah.
Okay.
That may have already been.
That may have already
That's actually
expired.
expired.
10 days from the receipt of this order.
Oh, okay.
That expired in April.
All right.
Yep.
Well, I think it would have went beyond April, since the official notice wasn't there till April 20th, but even that's gone by.
It's 10 days from the receipt of the order, which was April 4th, and then whatever date is on the US mail certified receipt. So you had 10 days from there, so that would have been your appeal window on that matter.
Would have been like April 30th.
Something to that effect, yes.
Yes. Yep. Anything else? Okay. So I think we heard from everybody that we swore in for the public hearing. Does the board have anything else?
Madam
Or-
Chair?
yes.
I know the other, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Susan, is it still possible, should she want to speak, to be sworn in?
If it has to do with compliance of the orders, yes. We could do that if you wanted to speak about compliance of the orders that we've read
I just
through.
want to know why nothing's been done. Okay, my dog still sits in the ground. It's been over a year.
Okay,
Nothing has
thank
been
you.
done. I want something done. That's all I
So-
gotta say.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Madam
So-
Chair, I just wish that she could come in front of the, at least the podium, so people could hear it. Is that a legitimate ask?
I can swear you in if you have evidence regarding compliance of the orders.
I have nothing.
Okay.
Okay, all I've been doing is coming here constantly with you guys, with them, trying to get things resolved. One, I haven't had any of them come to me regarding asking me, what kind of dog can I get you?
So
Okay.
that is not part of our orders. I know it was a suggestion by member Novak, but it is
Second-
not an order that we can actually,
Second, nothing has been done. My dog is still sitting in a grave. It's been over a year. I don't see a fence, I don't see anything being done.
so this evening's public hearing is at a 6-month mark from when the written orders were received by the owners. And that is what was in the motion. So we are at the 6-month point, and that is why we were having the compliance hearing. This is the next step.
Okay,
in
so
what is
this
being
step
done.
needs to be enforced. It needs to be, because you know what? It's not fair that I lost my dog due to
Understood.
whatever happened.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm not
do.
trying to be like rude or anything like that, but if you were in my shoes, you would understand.
I do.
So, you know, I just want
But I just
things
want
to
you
be
to know
put
where
into
we are in
place.
this process, that we are at that 6-month period of the written orders.
But this has been
and
over a
that's-
year now.
Understood. Yes. So we are at the 6-month point since the written orders were issued. And yes, there was a delay in getting the written orders, but we are now at that next step.
Okay, another thing is,
Compliance.
I'm confused about their property line. Now, we have a road that goes up behind Mullins, okay? There is, Duke's Construction owns a house up at the end. What part of that road is theirs?
I can't answer any of that.
So if I were to walk
So the
my-
road and the property line is not necessarily anything that this board can answer.
But I'm just trying to
or
understand,
address.
because if I walk my female dog up the road, is that walking on their property or is that state property? I'm confused.
I can't answer that, and I don't know if anybody in this room can answer that, if town council wants to.
No, it's really, it's not germane to your function tonight, too.
Regarding the compliance.
Right, you're dealing with compliance of the order.
Well, I just want to make sure, like, if I were to walk my female dog up the road, if I'm stepping on their territory, I need to know.
You'd have to,
Because I
you'd
don't.
have to research that thing. That's not something that people are prepared to or required to provide an answer to tonight. I mean, that's another issue
That's fine,
completely.
then I'll take it up with the town and find out. Because if I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, then I understand.
Right.
See what?
Thank you. All right, is there anything else for documentation or evidence to be presented? All right. Hearing none, that would conclude this hearing, and I would need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That concludes the public hearing. At this time, the board can deliberate, take a vote, and announce any action that they would like to take at this time. I believe that we need to determine if the dog owners have complied with the orders and determine if there's any additional remedial action. I'm going to look at Town Council, Section 157A of Mass General Law, Chapter 140, which talks about non-compliance of a dog owner or keeper with the order. There is some language there that may be relevant to the board. Is that correct?
Well, I had mentioned that at the beginning, that the board has an opportunity to present this by way of an application for a complaint to the Northern Berkshire District Court, and after hearing and so forth, the court could issue findings that could include a fine and/or imprisonment. That's not within your purview, of course. It's within the purview of the district court.
And so the board's action tonight is to determine if compliance has been made.
Right, your function is to determine whether your order of April 4th, 2023 has been complied with. And if it hasn't been complied with, you have to make a determination as to what the remedies are going to be, which could include the most drastic remedy of destruction, humane destruction of the dog, if need be. And that could be encompassed in an order, or it could be something else. That's up to you. When I say something else, it's something else within the statutory reasons. Now, what you've set forth in the April 4th order were the reasons under the statute, the reasons and orders that you made under the statute. Now, you could, just throwing this out hypothetically, there's an issue about the fencing, for example. You may want to look at that and see whether, well, no, it's not been complied with, but maybe something else can be done, and get into that. You have issues whether the order about neutering the dog was complied with. You make a determination of how to treat that. And the insurance coverage, which is a very important component of your order, and how to deal with that.
Okay, thank you. So I'll leave it to the board to deliberate. And know that town council is here for any questions you may have.
Yeah, the first topic,
Sure, Jim.
through the chair, the first topic I'd like to bring up is the physical fence. I personally don't feel that they should be made to make a fence around their whole property. I think that there should be an adequate, which will be made by the board, of the parameter, the size of it. And one other question. Now, this is only for Sully, so the other two dogs won't be obliged to have to go in there. And I just think that once that kind of thing happens, I think the owners and the people in the area are going to see when that dog's in that enclosure, the other two are outside, there'll be constant barking, But I personally don't think that, they should have to put up a fence around their whole house. That to me is kind of intrusive for, the people themselves and the neighborhood. I would just like us to think about what we feel would be a proper size, if that is conducive to the other members of the board. I just think that would be my first statement on it. I just think that, $20,000 for putting a cage up, a fence around a home for keeping a dog in check is a little too much. So that's my first thought, and I have others as we progress, because that's first on the agenda.
Okay. If the board wants, we could take each of the orders one by one, and if there's a modification or a determination of whether it's been complied with. think that's what town council told me I could do. Okay, thank you.
Let's do it.
Madam Chair, I would agree that a smaller fenced-in area would be okay, or a 6-foot cage also would be in compliance. As long, again, at the end of these, I want to make sure we set a date that is adhered to, and it's a final date. But,
And I would suggest not very far out.
yeah,
This is dragged on
Yeah.
way long enough.
right, so I think at the end, we should choose a date. So I agree with that.
I would just like to interject, to member Duval's measurements, that's a pretty big dog. 6 feet isn't really much room for a dog that size. The dog's a pretty big dog, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, you say 6 feet, it's 6 foot tall, it's 4 foot, 4 foot wide, and, there's more dimensions to it. I don't have
Okay,
that.
all right.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
all right.
yeah.
It's a good point, but we can give an exact size, but it's a cage that will accommodate humanely the size of the dog.
Ms. Whittick and Chief Kelly, if you can come back for clarification.
Chief Kelly had to step out,
Oh, he did, I'm sorry.
assist his officers.
Got it. There was talk about a couple different measurements. I think there was 8 by 8, 8 by 12, and 8 by 15. In your professional opinion, are any of those sizes appropriate for the size dog that Sully is?
They are, because he's not going to live in it 24 hours a day. It's only when they're letting him outside. So those are more than enough room for him to move around, run around. Those would be fine.
Okay, and do I have those measurements correct? Those sounded like,
There's so many different sizes. There's 6 by 8, 8 by 10, 8 by 12. There's many different sizes.
okay. Do you have a recommendation of a minimum size?
I don't. I think the standard one is 6 by 10 or 6 by 8. And for what they're going to use it for, just to let him be outside, get fresh air, run around, I think that would be fine. They don't need to go really large.
Yeah, through the chair, would you suggest a top covering?
I would suggest a covering. Some dogs are known to climb,
Exactly.
so a secure top covering plus to help with the elements so that the dog stays dry, but more so he can't climb the fence because they are known to climb. All dogs are.
So I'm hearing, I think, from the board, a modification of the fence order to be a standard kennel, minimum size of 6 by 8 feet with a covering or a secure top.
Yes.
Is that,
Is that a motion? We need a motion for that.
we would need a motion to amend our order regarding the fence.
I would suggest that we give them like 2 weeks to at least get a plan in here. This is what we're gonna do. I mean, execution in 2 weeks might be a little tough, but
Let's say by the end of the year, the head needs to be installed.
So one is talking about a plan and one is talking
Yeah.
about
2
installation.
weeks for plan, and then,
If somebody wants to make that motion,
I have just one other concern. Do you think that there should be some type of a bottom so the dog doesn't dig?
That's a good idea, yes, because he could dig out from
Right.
under.
Yeah.
I know they
When
do sell
there's-
like
When
chain
all the
link
other dogs
panels.
are running out, wow, that dog's gonna wanna really get out.
They do sell, I believe, like a chain link panel
Yeah.
that would attach to the bottom. That is a good idea.
and I believe Mr. Vega mentioned that the kennel they use at his parents' is also below ground.
okay. If I think I hear everyone correctly, it would be to amend the initial order regarding the fence to an order of a kennel, a standard size kennel, a minimum of 6 feet by 8 feet with a covering or secure top, as well as protection on the bottom, either with a flooring or it was underground fencing, with a deadline of a plan to be in hand to the Board of Selectmen within 2 weeks of today, which would be, I don't have a calendar. Somebody help me.
Today's the 15th.
Today's the 15th. November 29th. So a plan in hand to the Board of Selectmen by November 29th, and installation of the kennel by December 31st, 2023.
Madam Chair, could we just add a minimum of a kennel?
Yep.
Because if they want to go bigger, that's fine too. But
Okay. So it's a minimum of a kennel for the yard, minimum size of 6 feet by 8 feet with covering or secure top and protection on the bottom of the kennel. A plan in hand to the Board of Selectmen within 2 weeks, which would be November 29th, and installation of this kennel by December 31st, 2023. Does someone want to make that motion officially?
I'll make that motion, but I'm not going to state it. I'm just going to
Okay.
put forth a motion that was just read by our
Okay.
chairperson.
Okay. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Anyone opposed or an abstention? So that is unanimous. The next order, since we were taking them one by one,
Obedience training.
was the obedience training.
I would just, through the chair, I would just like to know what constitutes, how long is obedience training, and how do you know when you'll get a certification? How does that work for an obedience school? Do you have to have a certification that the dog's been through the proper training?
That's what they usually do. They usually go for so many weeks or months. I think it depends on every trainer. I think it's an individual decision on how much training the dog needs.
Yep. And I don't know how long Mr. Vega and Miss Canada have, gone through the training process with the dog.
They've indicated they could send the information.
How about the
If
board
the
asked to
board-
obtain a certified copy
Yeah.
of the obedience, completion of the obedience class from a certified trainer?
And if we were to do that, I would need a time frame. Anyone wish to make a motion?
Question for
Certainly.
Ms. Kenyatta, Canada. How long is the obedience training? When will the certificate be given, what you're doing when you're...
It's like whenever we bring him, it's not a set schedule because we both work a lot, so it's whenever we can bring him, and it's only Monday through Friday.
So the answer was that it's whenever you can bring Sully to the obedience.
Yeah, it's not like a set time, it's how often we want to keep bringing him.
And your trainer would be able to provide all of the dates that you have brought Sully to the training?
Yes.
And the trainer could provide their credentials with regard to training? Okay. And because it's being recorded, I will state that all of your answers were yes. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
So I'd like to make a motion that the owners present us with the documentation of the training and some assessment to the town administrator's comment on the nature of the dog relative to the obedience training. So what obedience training is adequate for this particular dog?
May I also add to that, that there be a certificate of compliance, that the dog has gone through the training so that it's documented, not by word of mouth?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Chief.
For consideration,
Yep.
I would ask for, right now, that the dog is enrolled. And then secondly, when it completes. So I would ask for two separate things.
Okay.
It is enrolled right now by a certified trainer. And then in the end, they also provide the certificate of completion.
I think Ms. Canada did say that you started the process, but you only have it on paper. Do you have anything, from the trainer saying that you started the process of having your dog trained?
No,
Okay.
not with me.
So I would like to add a timeframe, similar to that of the plan of the fence, that it would be 2 weeks. That would be my suggestion to the board, that a document of enrollment in obedience training, as well as credentials of the dog trainer, and an assessment of where Sully is in the training be provided to the Board of Selectmen by November 29th, with a certificate of completion of obedience training coming at the completion of the training. Did I catch everybody's comments?
Yes.
So
Okay.
moved, Madam Chair.
So I have a motion.
Well, did you make a motion? Is a motion?
I made a motion.
Did you
Oh,
wanna
sorry.
Withdraw yours, or?
Yeah, I make my motion, I amend my motion
Okay.
to add what the chairwoman has stated.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, just for,
Thank you.
just for the discussion portion of it, I think that you'll find trainers anywhere you want to find how little time they can say that the dog's compliant, and others it will take longer, so that's gonna be something that, I think will be up to the trainer, not us, that the dog has gone through the compliance part of it.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. The order of Sully being neutered or altered.
If I could, Madam Chair, I'll start off the dialogue. It was stated by Ms. Canada that, they have something from somebody that said that, it doesn't necessarily make a difference when the dog's neutered or, but I think that when it comes to something like that, you could find conflicting views depending on, who you speak to. So I think that's not a clear resolution to, well, we shouldn't have the dog neutered because this one person says that, because I know in certain things you certainly can find other people with different ideas. So that could be a little hazy as far as, because that's just kind of quote word of mouth. And I don't have, any idea of what we should do. I'd like to hear what the board has to say.
I will just remind the board that Ms. Canada did provide an email on her phone that we were able to see, but has also indicated that she can send that paperwork to us in an email, and we did receive a copy of the veterinary records from Ms. Whittick from the police department that had been presented, that was Exhibit C. So I'm happy to send that around if anybody wanted to see that.
I think we did.
I will state, I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. It is a provision in state law that the board is able to put this condition on a dog that has been deemed dangerous. So I've typically sided with what the law does allow, but me personally, I don't have a strong opinion.
Kimberly, do you have a comment on that?
No, I had it.
I just, through the chair, I worry like about a gene pool when you have a dog that is, you know, has that tendency, I think, through reproductive times that you'll get that dog to be a mere copy.
That, I think, Joe, that is the whole idea of why it's generally mandated.
Yeah.
Because we don't hold an opinion on whether they should or shouldn't.
Yeah.
The vet gave their opinion, but that is exactly why that statute is in place, and it's generally followed.
It's generally not
Followed.
I'll second Joe's, his discussion. His comments, yeah.
So I think that the action that the board could take, is this is an order that has not been complied with, which everybody here has stated it has not been complied with. If the board wants to uphold this order, that we would need to set a date in which Sully would need to be neutered or altered. Is that correct?
Correct.
Kim, any idea the amount of time it takes time?
Like he said, the vets are booking out, some are 6 months.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't think that, you know, the 2 weeks that you've been putting on everything else will even come close here.
Maybe make the appointment and report that back to you, that they have the appointment set?
That the appointment is set?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
so we
good.
can get a copy of the appointment card within 2 weeks' time. So, if anyone wants to make that motion.
I'll make a motion in 2 weeks to have an appointment to have the dog castrated. And then when we get that appointment card, we will put that date as a date for the dog to be castrated,
So,
to be in compliance with this order.
proof of appointment.
Proof of appointment.
And you can do, again,
Yeah,
suggestion.
sure.
You can do that on a shorter leash. Like, they could literally call tomorrow and get an appointment. So if you wanted to say 5 business days to respond back to.
For 2 weeks.
For
Yeah.
keeping it
Keep it
consistent?
consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, just
So proof of
consistent.
appointment within 2 weeks, which is November 29th. And that proof of appointment will go to the Board of Selectmen. Okay. And that was a motion by Member Rosenberg.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Member Novak. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just have a curiosity question.
Certainly.
Now, these papers list Sully as a pit bull, but on the other page, it's listed as a terrier, a maggot, American Staffordshire? Is that the same thing?
Same thing.
Yeah. Staffordshire Terrier.
I never knew that.
Me
That's the
neither.
official name, that they just say pit bull.
I didn't know that either. Okay.
I guess that is the AKC.
I was like, poor Peter's ears, you just took them out. Okay. Okay, sorry. The next order was the muzzle order and the restraint on the 3-foot leash, which the animal control officer has stated they are in compliance with.
Yes, they are.
Okay. So
I
the
would
next.
leave it in there, though.
Yeah. So I think I don't think we have to restate it, or do we? Because it's complied with.
Right.
And that one was really in perpetuity, but doesn't have an end date.
Right.
Okay.
I'd like to say on that leash, 3-foot leash on a Rottweiler, that's not too easy to have the dog out in front with 3 feet. I can just picture it, but that's been a year or two, so we'll keep it, or at least that's my thought.
So the next order does have to do with the certificate of insurance, which we have evidence has not been complied with. Ms. Canada did state that she did contact the insurance company on October 18th, but has not received a response.
Madam Chair, I just would recommend that for the last sentence that indicates that the certificate of insurance shall be provided no later than 6 months from the date of this order, that we just change the, replace no later than 6 months to a date that is closer.
So
Two
you're,
weeks.
you were asking for that to be a sooner, or?
Yeah. well,
Okay.
From the original 6-month order, we just need to pick out a date, but keep everything else the same.
2 weeks.
Okay.
To get a certificate in 2 weeks, or?
You buy. Is that, Ed, is that unreasonable? It's a rider on.
I don't think it's unreasonable,
For 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
The same
Okay.
day.
You get a car, you get insurance the same day.
Same day,
I would
exactly.
think,
We've also had the order open for almost a year.
yeah.
Right, so let's keep the 2 week.
2 weeks.
Same
Okay.
date with everything else.
2 weeks.
Therefore, it would be that the person having ownership and/or control of Sully shall provide a certificate of insurance of not less than $100,000 coverage for personal injuries that may be caused by Sully, to provide this certificate of insurance to the Office of the Board of Selectmen before November 29th.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Member Duval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Rosenberg. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Or an abstention, sorry. Okay, that is unanimous.
Madam Chair, may I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Throughout the course of the evening, it's very clear that these folks have a relationship already existing with the animal control officer. They appear to be able to communicate on a far regular basis. Perhaps it was best if all of these compliance items be funneled through the animal control officer. It's far easier, I think, for Kim to stop by town hall and provide it to the selectman's office. And that way there, if there's any issues or anything like that, Kim can assess them and make a recommendation to the board as to whether or not compliance is happening or whether or not there's additional items that could be had. So this board still retains all the authority, but I feel as though perhaps we'd get some better compliance if Kim was the point of contact for some of these items.
If I could also ask, that I think that's a great idea, but she can always see everyone at the point of contact could be Bree. She could relay anything, and then Bree could get it out to the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
That would work.
Yep. Ms. Whittick, are you comfortable acting on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to collect all of these items by November 29th?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to formalize that with a motion by the Board of Selectmen that we authorize you to collect that documentation by November 29th and have it to Ms. Hampman by November 30th.
So moved.
I have a motion by Member Duval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Rosenberg. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? That is unanimous. I think that concludes all of the orders. So-
Just because we took so long to get out the original one, how soon can we get this written up?
I will work with town council. I will personally work with town council to get this order out, I would say, in 1 to 2 business days. Is that
It's fine with me.
Fair, okay.
You know, that would prevent this type of delay.
Yep.
Because that's the problem with the past delay, was I didn't get it until probably the end of March or early April.
I will take that on, and I will follow up with you first thing
Fine.
tomorrow morning with the orders.
Mhm.
So again, we'll get those orders to you in writing. At this time, the dog owners do have the right to an appeal, is that correct?
They have a right to appeal this to the clerk of the Northern Berkshire District Court within 10 days of receipt of the order.
Okay. So there, yes, Mr. Vega. Can you come to the podium? Sorry. Thank you.
So I got a question about the cage. So to my knowledge, every single time I take Sully outside to use the bathroom, do I have to put him in that cage to use the bathroom, or can I continue walking him?
It is my understanding that you can continue to walk.
With the leash.
Right, with the leash.
Yes,
Right.
And walk.
yes.
If you just want to put him outside and let him roam
Okay.
around, he goes inside the kennel.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the question of clarification. Okay. Anything else? So in that written letter, it'll also state, you know, how you would be able to appeal if you chose to appeal. Okay? And again, we will get that out to you in a timely fashion.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. I appreciate you coming in and meeting with us. These are never easy conversations. And so I do appreciate that very much. Anything else from the board? At this time, I would like to just take a 5-minute recess, if possible, before we move on to, before we go back to public comment. Okay. So thanks. So the first item under new business is a ratification of Brendan Scott, skilled laborer for the Department of Public Works. Mr. Green, I will let you read your letter. I've done enough talking.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Item A on your agenda this evening, ratification of Mr. Scott, skilled labor. We had a normal resignation in the department. An employee moved on, so we're asking that the board ratify Mr. Scott this evening. You have a memorandum in your packet of materials this evening. There's a clerical error under the RE item where it says seasonal labor. You're being asked to ratify him as a skilled laborer, which is the entry-level position into the Department of Public Works. This letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that Mr. Scott has been appointed to the position of skilled laborer with the Department of Public Works as provided in Section 10 of the Town Charter. Pleased to present Mr. Scott for your ratification this evening. Throughout his interview, Brendan showed that he has the motivation, skills, and disposition to be a valuable asset to the Town of Adams and our DPW. Once ratified and contingent upon successfully passing and completing any hiring requirements of the town, Mr. Scott will begin his employment on or about December the 1st of this year at Step 2 rate, which is $18.34 hourly, as provided for in the current governing collective bargaining agreement between the Town of Adams and AFS-CME Local 204.
Thank you very much. What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion that the board ratify the appointment of Brendan Scott as a skilled laborer in the Department of Public Works.
Can you also state the hourly rate?
At the hourly rate of $18.34 an hour.
Thank you. I have a motion by Member Blanchard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Rosenberg. Any discussion?
I just have a question. I ask this all the time. Is Brendan from Adams?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or an abstention? Okay, that is unanimous. Item B, update on former Curtis Paper property.
I don't want to steal town council's thunder because he's the man that had to file all of the myriad of paperwork in order to do this. But tonight, we're announcing that the former Curtis Paper property, also known as Brightwater Paper on Howland Avenue, now belongs to the town of Adams. There are 3 individual parcels associated with that property. All 3 parcels were placed into tax title, and the town now owns it as a result of default of taxes. Consistent with the board's conversation that we've had on multiple occasions about the property, now that it's owned, The town is going to speak with our insurance company regarding insurance. We'll have to dispatch some DPW crews over there in order to clean up some of the excessive vegetation around it. And then I've asked Facilities Manager and Building Commissioner Jerry Garner to look at the building and attempt to secure it. That is a very large sprawling complex with multiple points of entry. Chief Kelly has been part of our internal conversation, so we'll be doing that as time permits over the next several weeks. In terms of the long-range plan with the property, again, consistent with what we've talked about previously with the board, Mr. Coughlin, I think Eamon is here. If I misspeak, he'll fire off. We received a grant through the Massachusetts Community Compact Program in order to hire a consultant to do a highest and best use study on the property. That study has been ongoing now for quite some time. We're just wrapping it up. I believe we have a final draft, Eamon, to review.
We final draft review, yes.
Once that happens, we'll have that document. We'll be able to present it to the board probably in a workshop format. I would anticipate that study populates a request for proposals. We can only dispose of the property through RFP or through bid auction. That property is one of the last remaining large industrial properties in the town, and it's been the wish of the Board of Selectmen eventually RFP that so it goes in the hands of an individual to do something with it. I can't give you a time frame. It's something that just came up. We had the study going on. Eamon and his team is working on the RFP, so we'll provide an update with the next steps. But now that we own it, we can actually physically take action on it. Ed, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to the update.
No, you covered it all.
And a thank you to Ed. You know, land court is not an easy venue for anyone to practice in. So thank you, Ed, for seeing it through to completion.
Any questions on Curtis paper?
Yeah, I just have a quick question to Jay. Do we have brownfields money?
That's a really good question, Joe. Thank you. We do. We have $500,000 that we just got from that last round. Donna and Eamon have been doing some research. We might be able to use that not just for cleanup, but we might actually be able to use it to secure the property, which again is a lot of funds. We don't have any budgeted money for it, so we might be able to use that. At any rate, that will be key in order to turn that property back into tax-generating property.
Okay, that's good.
Anything else?
Other than that, no.
Okay. All right, that brings us to item C, discussion of Adams Ambulance and Community Emergency Medical Services. I did ask our town administrator to provide an update as to what we know at this time and where we are with emergency medical services for the town of Adams. I will also mention that there is a public meeting. It is a joint public meeting next Monday, or this coming Monday, I should say, sorry, November 20th at 6 p.m. We are holding this jointly with the town of Cheshire. Invitations to Adams Ambulance Board, as well as their management, have been extended, and we have extended invitations to Northern Berkshire EMS management and their board. And at this time, I have received confirmation from both of those entities that representatives would be there to really address any questions that may come up. At this time, this update will be from our town administrator to the board, and if the board has any questions, you may ask them, but the time for public questions will come on Monday, November 20th at 6 p.m. And I'm sorry if I have not stated the location. It is at Cheshire Town offices in their assembly space. Most people might remember it as the former cafeteria space of the elementary school. But at this time, I will have you provide an update.
Sure. So obviously, this has been quite a time-consuming topic for town staff. It is a critical topic. We assembled a team of staff. A few of those folks are here actually in the room this evening. And since the Berkshire Eagle article was published back in the September range, on behalf of Adams Ambulance Service, that they were in financial straits, towns of Cheshire, Savoy, and Adams have been working together in order to attempt to address this issue. The number one priority that group has had of public safety officials and some town leaders have been in order to provide for continuity of EMS coverage, primary coverage within the town of Adams and Cheshire and Savoy. Adams Ambulance Service has met on a variety of different occasions with different groups of staff members, and at no time was Adams Ambulance indicating that they would be closing the doors on 12/31. There was many statements that they were in financial straits, but at no given time was a date ever provided that they would cease service. I should note that whether or not a provider cease EMS service is governed by Massachusetts law. It can be found in 105 CMR 170 range, and it does require a provider to tell us within 90 days as to whether or not service will be terminated or suspended. Despite statements that Adams Ambulance employees have made, we believe, online, and despite the fact that we've attempted to communicate with Adams Ambulance leadership, we have not yet received official notice that they will be ceasing EMS primary coverage to our communities on December 31st. This information has only been provided by them to the Department of Public Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services, of which has been in touch with us, telling us that they say that they will cease service on or about 12/31, and then statements have been made by their general manager that based on their financial predicament, that day may come sooner. That has required our communities to take steps in order to provide for continuity, and that is the most important piece, I think, that should be shared tonight for our folks here, for our folks at home, that there is a plan in place that has shaped up very rapidly over the last probably 96 hours, if not slightly longer, when we have been in fear that Adams Ambulance will show up one morning at 0700 and say, we don't have anybody to work, we can't make payroll, we're done. It is our obligation to ensure for continuity of services. So we have that plan in place. There was a press release issued yesterday. Most of the media outlets carry that. And the plan that we have is Northern Berkshire EMS, which is a provider for about 10 communities to our north in southern Vermont. They will be taking over primary EMS coverage of our 3 communities. They will be doing so on an emergency basis. We're in touch with the Department of Public Health and Office of Emergency Management Services. They have reviewed the transition plan and have approved it. We have 2 garaging locations, one in Cheshire as the secondary and one primary location identified here in Adams. Those locations have been toured yesterday, and the submission process in order to have the Department of Public Health approve those locations has been submitted. We anticipate assistance from Senator Mark and Representative Barrett should we need it in order to help make sure that the DPH acts swiftly. We have no reason to think not. All of our communities are in touch with DPH. The other big issue is 911 dispatch. They operate on a different frequency. I can tell you today that Berkshire County Sheriff's Control, which is the primary dispatching entity for the town of Adams, has been working with Northern Berkshire EMS, has been working with our police department to ensure that that works. There's a plan in place. They're testing it today. And our anticipation is that probably very early next week, we will be ready to execute this plan should it be needed. One of the biggest issues that we're facing is this lack of communication from Adams Ambulance, because we actually need a hard date to determine when we can transition. The closer we get to the holidays, the closer we get to that December 31st date, communities cannot be in a position, nor frankly can Northern Berkshire EMS be in a position where all of a sudden, without notice, we have to change change providers. That is not the intent of anyone or anything within any of our communities. It is not the intent of our public safety group. It is certainly not the intent of Northern Berkshire EMS, but that is the predicament that we are in, and it is our obligation to ensure for continuation of services. So that is the plan that's in place. I feel very confident tonight telling everybody at home and in the room that when you dial 911, there will be an ambulance there. And I know what the next question is. How long is it going to take? Northern Berkshire EMS will have a location in the town of Adams, and their response time will be the same, if not better, than Adams Ambulance Service. They will have a crew and they will have a unit staged in the town of Adams. We have mutual aid agreements with other communities, just as we do now, where Adams Ambulance backs up Northern Berkshire EMS and vice versa. Those will still remain in place. That is the short-term plan that will address the fear of a gap in adequate EMS services for the communities. Long-range plan, yet to be determined, and that can be done at a time when we're not under Damocles' sword and placed into a corner in order to be forced what to do. So it's been a lot of work. I'd like to thank some folks in this room who have participated with that. There's some folks who don't wish to be named who have done yeoman's work in order to attempt a far smoother transaction than what is happening, but was unsuccessful. So that's where we're at with that, and more to come. We'll keep everybody informed as we go, and we'll keep everybody informed once we're ready to execute that plan.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. Can you just clarify official notification? Is notification in writing?
It is pursuant to 105 CMR 170. That has to be in writing. We have yet to receive it.
And the only thing in writing that has been received is from DPH that they are in receipt of the December 31.
In order for the town of Adams, and I can't speak for the other two communities specifically, but I can tell you that for the town of Adams, the only communication that we've had with Adams Ambulance Service since last Monday has been through DPH and OEMS.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Any questions for our town administrator?
A question on the, so if I understand correctly, the date that Adams Ambulance has given DPH is December 31st.
They have, and in that written communication, their general manager, Sean Sanderson, has indicated that based on their financial predicament, interpreted as being whether or not they can make payroll, that day may come sooner.
Okay. So I would suggest that we consider, because of the lack of communication and the variability, the uncertainty associated with that, that the emergency plan have a hard date that's sooner than later.
That was the latest conversation we had today, that unfortunately, I think that that's probably what we're gonna have to do. As soon as Chief John Meany and his team at Northern Berkshire EMS indicates that that plan is ready and they can receive calls, I can tell you that the location in Adams will be the Forest Warden Station. The Forest Warden executive team, the officers, have been incredibly supportive with this. They are making room in the Forest Warden Station. Chief Meany, Deputy Chief Tobin was there. A member of the Cheshire Select Board was there along with us. And we toured that facility yesterday, and they were very pleased with it. It's almost ready to go in order to host a unit. And DPH has, in fact, I can tell you that we left probably about 7 o'clock, maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock last night. Northern Berkshire EMS immediately filed the paperwork in order to have certified the two locations, one here and the one in Cheshire. And we received notification from the Department of Public Health tonight that they had received it. We're reviewing it, anticipate approval early next week. There are DPH regulations with that, climate control, there's narcotics on board the units, that type of thing. Those controls have to be put in place, and that facility is easy to it. I can also tell you that the Department of Public Health, the Deputy Commissioner, communicated with us today, us being the towns, and said that they reviewed the call volume supplied by Adams Ambulance Service, have overlaid that with Northern Berkshire's, and has said that at this time Northern Berkshire is fully prepared to assume operations, and that call volume is manageable based on their current staffing. However, I can tell you, and for the employees in the room, that Chief Meany does want to expand his his labor pool, and to please reach out. It is also my understanding that they intend to reach out to the Board of Directors of Adams Ambulance Service and their General Manager and attempt to speak directly with the employees of Adams Ambulance Service. It is their intent to interview and onboard their folks. So that should cover labor, it should cover vehicles, at least in the time being, as well as the more important features that there will be a vehicle here stationed in Adams. And most of our folks should not see, there'll be bumps in the road, no doubt about it. But for the most part, this will address the potential for lack of EMS services in the town.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, I just have a few comments. First of all, I'd like to say that I haven't been privy to these conversations, so anything I know about what's going on is through the media itself, because I haven't been on the inside at meetings and that type of thing. But I want to assure the people of Adams that as a selectman, my obligation and duty to this community is for the welfare of our citizens, and I'll do what I can to make sure this transition is successful and it serves the needs of the people of this community and those involved with the ambulance service. And I have a few just quick questions. I don't know if we have. Now, when we get involved with EMS coverage, what's the cost going to be? Do we know what, I mean, cost is important in all this. Do we have an idea when we get involved with the EMS of Northern Berkshire, how much it may cost for us to join? And another question I have is, who owns those ambulances down at the ambulance, and who owns that building?
So I think that point really needs to be made clear, is that the property, the vehicles, the staff, everything associated with Adams Ambulance Service, Inc.
Yeah.
is private.
Private.
It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You actually have a member of their board of directors in the room this evening. They're governed by a board of directors. The town of Adams has no managerial or fiscal control. Going forward, I think it's important for taxpayers to know that assumption of EMS services, whether it's a subsidy to a private entity or whether operating themselves, is not inexpensive. On the short-term immediacy, it's going to cost us nothing other than the fact that we're providing garaging space. So no impact. No impact at all. Does that mean that a year from now or 2 or 3 years from now that conversation doesn't need to happen? No, it may. One of the reasons why we're here tonight is because the economics, and I think the EMT who spoke tonight admitted that, it's challenging. And it's particularly challenging for a small outfit like Adams Ambulance has 3 communities. So it's a dynamic, it's a change. The insurance reimbursement is really what's killing them. And that's not anything that this board or, we could handle. That's at the federal level. I'm pretty confident when I say I think if Rep Barrett could take his proverbial baseball bat to him, he would. We've talked about it. He can't. So it's out of our hands. And as Joe said, as you said, Joe, and I appreciate your comments, that's our concern with it. So in the immediate future, no, there's no cost implications at all.
And so how are they funded? The Northern Berkshire EMS, are they getting state monies to run there?
So I think you'll hear some of that Monday night.
Okay.
But they have a very robust grant program. They've brought in about $750,000 worth in grants. They're funded not just from the EMS operation, but they also have a transport operation.
Right.
So you see the other vehicles that are not paramedic units or medical units, they have that. They have a variety of different income sources, which stabilizes their income and allows them to ride that wave that Adams Ambulance just can't absorb. There's been a lot of chatter about, well, the town should just fund it. Well, first of all, we could, but we can't do that off budget cycle. We can only do that as we build our budget. And then secondly, the town of Adams is not overly padded in terms of available funding. And when I say that, that means what we have available on the tax levy. If we were to fund an EMS service in the town, and their general manager has provided a variety of different numbers, we've never actually received a budget. I think that's something else that should be said, is we've never actually received their budget. We've never actually received a formal request to fund them in terms of we need this hard amount. The numbers have changed. I won't go down that road too much tonight. I think perhaps that's a Monday night discussion. You can see it's been very frustrating for us. But alone, if it was $1 million, I should remind everybody, we operate the town of Adams alone. Once you take away personnel costs, once you take away the schools, on a $2.5 million. And their number was $1.4 million. That's a substantial amount for the town of Adams to absorb, even with our other communities, which are in a very similar financial situation. There is no doubt in my mind, if we did that, it would require a Proposition 2.5 override. We do not have the levy capacity. Last year, we did. We had about $700 and something thousand between what we had to raise in order to pay our budget versus what we were limited to by Proposition 2.5. We have to live within the confines of a 1980s state law. If this year we did it, because the school supplement went up, our levy capacity is hovered around $50,000 to $70,000. So even if we did it, it would be a substantial community conversation that we'd have to have. And I know that that's probably more, Joe, than what you needed, but I feel it's important that all of those aspects come out.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, I do. Full transparency, my son works a couple shifts at the Adams Ambulance, and I'm just speaking for myself. I would have liked to seen Adams Ambulance prosper for the next 50 years. They're separate from the town, and unfortunately, we've come to this point. I just want to make one point. Another point is that I want to thank Jay Green and his team, because when we started to hear about this several months ago, he jumped right into action and worked with other communities, our friends from Cheshire and Savoy, and worked up a plan to be ready just in case this scenario happened. And I didn't think this would happen. I thought we'd be going for months and go to town meeting and have our battles there. But it's happening a lot sooner than we thought. But the town administrator and his team, being proactive, are ready, working with the other communities, are ready to go. If that scenario, and we think it will, it's going to happen. And also thank the chair for the last couple months of being involved for the board, and also being part of that plan. So we're ready, and I think we hear a lot of praise when you're out there. We didn't bring this on, but we're ready. It's happening, and we're going to be ready to move forward. So. Got one fan.
All right. So just a reminder about Monday's meeting, and I should mention we have extended an invitation to the town of Savoy for their Board of Selectmen to also be part of our joint meeting, but we haven't heard back yet, so that's why I've only mentioned that the towns of Cheshire and the town of Adams are Board of Selectmen.
We believe we'll have representation.
I think that we will too. I just haven't heard from their board members that they're going to host it as a public hearing from Savoy. So, but Savoy residents can come and speak during public hearing for the towns of Adams and Cheshire select boards. So, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
It was mentioned the cover also had Holly.
Yeah.
Holly. Yes.
So did we reach, or can we reach out to them and let them know too?
Well, unfortunately, that's the obligation of Adams Ambulance Service.
Correct.
They're a service, they provide that service to the independent jurisdiction of Holly. And that's up to Adams Ambulance Service. We don't have any really working relationship with anybody in Holly. That's why Savoy, Cheshire, and Adams have been doing it. But I know, I can tell you that Northern Berkshire EMS has reached out to Holly. And I believe DPH has this too. What those conversations are, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't believe Northern Berkshire EMS will have to answer this for themselves, but I know in our conversations, we have focused on their ability to provide adequate EMS services for Adams, Cheshire, and Savoy.
All right. Okay. So that concludes new business and brings us to subcommittee and liaison reports. Rick, do you have anything?
Nothing.
Joe?
Yes, I attended the Adams Cheshire Regional School District meeting, and my concern was I wanted to see what was going on as far as our education and to our students, and I left a little disheartened. I wasn't very happy with what I saw as our MCAS scores. I'm not a believer in MCAS. I don't think that really makes a difference on how a child will grow and how successful or unsuccessful they may be. But it is a parameter now that the state looks at, and it didn't seem that it was something that I would be proud of. Also, I like to keep people on the board in, what's going on, so I always try my best to give each member something. This was, what was it? It's called the Hoosick Valley Regional School District 2023-2024 District Improvement Plan. And that's what was discussed at the meeting. Here's one for Jay if you'd like it. And, there was a lot of talk. There were great ideas. The word metric came up about I don't know, 30 times, looking at metrics
That's
and
the current
looking.
buzzword.
Yeah, metrics, and, you know, I think, you know, I guess I'm an older type man, but I look at stuff, the results of your work, and not like metrics, and you know, the proof, in quote, the old saying is in the pudding. So, you know, the ideas were great. There was a great, you know, conversation amongst the board, the committee members, and the very few people that were in attendance. And, you know, I hope the best for our school district. And things have to change. I don't know how they're gonna change, but as we all know, when people want to move to an area, the first thing they look for their children is the education that they'll be able to receive as they move to an area, because that's really on the mind of parents. And I don't know, I hope that all the words that were spoken translates into more success. And the last thing that was on the agenda at the meeting was Superintendent Dean got a raise. And so that's just what I'm reporting. And that's all I have. I didn't attend any other committee meetings.
Okay, thank you for the information. Howard?
Nothing for me.
Nothing from me. John?
We had a Berkshire Regional Planning Commission Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, and to set the rates for the communities, the 32 communities in the Berkshire County. And we approved, which will go to the full BRPC Commission on Thursday evening, tomorrow evening, the increase, and it's the same as it's been several years. I think it's 2.5%, but it's the same, just to give you a heads up on that. Same raise as it has been over the last several years. Just to give you a heads up. We'll have final approval on Thursday evening.
Thank you for that. And I did misspeak. I did have a subcommittee update from licensing. Thanks for not throwing anything at me, Bree, that I forgot. But license holders who are looking to renew their licenses have until Monday, November 20th to submit their paperwork in order for this board to take action on December 6th. So I think there's only a handful of license holders who have yet to pick up their paperwork, but I implore them to get their paperwork in their hands, fill it out, and return it on Monday, November 20th. They do need to make an appointment with Ms. Hantman, who may not be in the office when they stop by, and that's why we're requiring an appointment for them to pick up their paperwork. So if you are at home listening, please make sure that you pick that up, or you'll be in jeopardy of not getting your license renewed. Announcements and go to the order. The first item on here is New England Power Company.
Mr. Coughlin.
Mr. Coughlin. If you could state
He's
your...
waited patiently over 2 hours in order to deliver this update that has absolutely nothing to do with the town of Adams.
If you could state your name and your title.
Sure. Eamon Coughlin, Community Development Director for the town. So there's, for those who don't know, for the last several years, there's been planning and development for a large project involving the upgrade of power lines that pass between North Adams, and Savoy. This has the rather boring name of the Asset Condition Refurbishment Project. As of right now, this project is going through the MEPA environmental permitting process. The last step in that process is that a draft environmental impact report is now available, and public comment is being sought after. That public comment period is open until December 8th. I've reached out to the project team at New England Power Company and also their engineer, Ty and Bond, and asked them if they would be willing to do a public information session here at Town Hall. I tentatively have them scheduled, unfortunately very late in that comment period process, December 7th, so the day before comments are due. I'm trying to arrive at a time, probably in the afternoon, but we will post more details on this on the town website. I can also post links to the MIPA comment site, as well as project website to provide information to the board and to the public.
Thank you, Eamon. So we will look for more information about the public session, and if you could post that information, that would be great. Before
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Also, under announcements, we have the Holidays event coming up. So Adams Holidays, which is also the tree lighting ceremony that takes place annually at the Adams Town Common. We did receive word from Adams Community Bank that they will once again sponsor this event. And so they have provided us an invitation, letting us know that Santa will arrive around 3 o'clock. Festivities do start at 2, but Santa will arrive at 3, and the tree lighting will be at 5 p.m. There will be free carriage rides, music, hot cocoa, coffee, and donuts, which I believe the treats have been donated by the Adams Lions Club, so we thank them for their involvement as well. And I hear that there might be some free goodies for all the children from Santa. So the event does happen, rain or shine, or the occasional snowflake, and that is going to be on Sunday, November 26th. So again, Sunday, November 26th, 2 to 5 p.m. So thank you to all involved. Other announcements and go to the order. Rick?
Nothing.
Joe?
Yeah, just one thing quickly. I'd like to give a shout out to Charlie O'Brien, the president and CEO of the Adams Community Bank. He announced that he's going to retire in 2025. I've had a lot of discussions with Charlie over the years, and he's certainly been an asset to the town of Adams and surrounding communities for his help with things that are going on within the communities, and both financially and emotionally. So I wish Charlie the best, but he's got little more time to perform the magic that he's done for quite a long time.
Very nice. Thank you. Howard?
Yes, a personal comment regarding the Adams ambulance, and I was happy to hear your town administrator talk about the willingness of the plan to employ existing Adams ambulance members, and the gentleman from EMT from Dalton. Could you state your name again, please? Joshua, yes, he was I had a personal medical emergency, and he was the ambulance driver, and they responded well within 10 minutes. And I was very, very happy with that. I don't want to repeat it, but it was a very good service. Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you later, Josh, about how he was as a patient.
Perfect answer.
That is not on the agenda.
Perfect answer. Thank you, Howard. John, anything?
Thank you.
I just have one item. I stopped in to see Eamon in regards to the Holland Ave project, which is several years down the road, but we were discussing that there are many streets that aren't town-owned that are identified in maps that need to be, I believe, and Eamon, can you come up for a second to help me? Come on up to the podium if you don't mind. So we were looking at maps, and there's several streets in the Xyleni area that aren't town-owned, correct?
Right, it's considered unaccepted.
Unaccepted, that's the word I was looking for, unaccepted streets. And I did a little research in the transcript archives, and I found some of the streets that in question. Somebody during the 80s, the DPW director had a list of streets and asked the select board, should I plow these streets? They're not accepted by the town. And I'm sure the minutes, I'll get you that information, but the minutes, the meeting following that, there probably would have been some discussion on it. But the question I have, and it's probably just asking the chair that we have a agenda item or a workshop in regards to identifying, I don't know if we have that, but identifying all streets that are town-owned and all streets that are unaccepted, so we'd have that list. Because right now we don't have that, right?
We do.
We do.
Yeah, so-
We have that.
We have that complete list?
Yeah.
You would be incredibly surprised to find out how many streets in this town that are thoroughfares that are publicly plowed are not formally accepted. Attorney St. John has been involved as well, and we need to come up with a process in order to rectify that. So it's in the works.
Yeah, it's a long-term issue that needs to be addressed. I'll just mention briefly, I mean, one of the issues that comes up is when we look at one of these federally funded projects, if there isn't a clear record of ownership by the town or jurisdiction that the town has over the road, we need to establish that before we can move forward with any federal aid going towards that project. So it could hold us up if we don't address it on certain roads.
So we can take that up as an agenda item and get more educated on the accepted and unaccepted streets at a probably date in early 2024. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. All right. So this board is going into an executive session. When we do come out of executive session, we would only be coming out of executive session to adjourn this regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. I am asking the board to go into executive session per open meeting law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, for reason number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. And as stated on our agenda, we will be talking about 39 Victory Street and 39 Victory Terrace. So I do need a motion to go into executive session for the reasons stated.
Madam Chair, I just have a point of order in regards to discussion previously that on the agenda, the Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, identifies the reason number, but does not have the full text of the title of that on the agenda. So would that be a adherence to us doing any action this evening and just waiting until the next meeting to and have the agenda? It's a Scrivener error, and I just want to make sure it's done right. And we've been caught on these things before, and I want to make sure that the agenda is correct and we do things the right way.
Yeah, I'd like to pipe in. I was going to bring that up too. I mean, is there any time, is there any time constraints with these corrective lien and the release of the lien?
Yes, there is. So I'm going to clear the air because I think there's starting to be a connotation in here that something is a foul. The Community Development Block Grant Program provides a community with funds that can be given to individual property owners for the purposes of rehabilitating their property. On numerous occasions, if you look back into our agendas, you will see the identical agenda items. And in fact, you can see tonight corrective lien discharge on property at and release of lien on property at a particular street and a particular property mechanism. Also, because these funds are funded by the Community Development Block Grant Program, and there is a financial need associated with it, guidance from the Community Development, Housing and Urban, I'm getting tired, Ed. It's HUD, Housing and Urban Development, that provides these funds, federal dollars, requires that these mechanics take place in executive session. So I'm not going to comment on the open meeting law aspect of it. That is Ed's prerogative, but just so that everybody knows, these are very mechanical things that take place that are required by the funding source that we try to do in this town to have community development block grant funds given to homeowners who own a home, their own home, and they're attempting to rehabilitate it. That is direct federal dollars that we're able to do to help out with homeowners. This is a really great program. It is a lot of work that Eamon and his staff put into this, but this is just the mechanical aspect of it. And I will tell you, Joe, getting back to answer your question, the answer is yes, simply because I believe that they're attempting to transfer the property imminently. Is that correct, Eamon? Or can it wait?
They already missed one deadline.
So I agree with everything you said. I have no problem with that. The question I have is, on the agenda, we mentioned a certain open meeting law, and we don't have it spelled out completely. Is that an issue? I'll hand it over. Sorry, Ed. I'll hand it over to you. That's the only issue I have. If it's fine, it's fine. If it's not, it's not. Only question I have.
Please, town council.
Thank you.
Now, when you read the reason for the executive session, you read the text of the language accurately. You read it accurately.
I did.
The agenda doesn't state it as complete as you did. And, well, in my opinion, the substance of reason number 6 has been stated accurately. There's a risk, and that's the concern that the people who are being either hurt or benefited by the action taken in executive session, that's the risk that they bear in the event that there's an open meeting law complaint filed and the Attorney General's office upholds it. And let's say the board has done something, that action will be overturned by that. So I realize there are deadlines and so forth, but perhaps this could be put on the fast track with the agenda item being accurately stated, as you stated, Chairman Hoyt, have it stated accurately in the agenda and then go forward with it.
Yes, Rick?
Unfortunately, whether we do it or not, I
You
can't
gotta
stay. I have to go to work.
Okay.
So,
If the board wishes to table this, that is fine. I do ask that the board be flexible with your dates and available dates and times so that maybe we can try to get this done for the people who have been impacted by this. Maybe we can get this done before the next deadline. But I do know that that is before our December 6th regularly scheduled meeting, so it would have to be an off-cycle meeting for this board, and I am asking all of you to be flexible with your dates and times. And, I'm sorry, Eamon, yes?
This is more of a question for Ed.
Can you come up to the podium? Sorry.
Sure.
Thank you. Before Peter yells at me that he can't hear you. Thank you.
In looking at our housing rehab program, one unique feature, when we assign these liens to people that receive benefits, Jay signs as the town administrator, but when we release the liens, the full board needs to sign. I'm not sure why that's the process. Is this something that the board could appoint to Jay to release these liens, or appoint that authority for him to release the liens and provide us with some, I guess, a streamlining of this process as opposed to?
Well, we have a statute that says that any interest in real estate that the municipality has, excuse me, has to be released by the Board of Selectmen. So whether it be a discharge of a lien, or whether it be signing of a deed, or giving of an easement, or accepting an easement, the Board of Selectmen have to be involved, and sometimes town meeting has to authorize it, not in the case of these kind of things, but I don't think it can be delegated. It doesn't provide for it in the statute.
Okay.
Well, if I could, I'd like to put a motion forward that the executive session be not held, and due to a possibility that the reason for us going into executive session isn't complete in nature as it is written, and therefore I believe it will keep us from potential problems.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of tabling that matter?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
I'll abstain because
You'll abstain?
I wouldn't be attending anyway.
okay, that's fine. So that brings us to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Very